Good morning, boys and girls. My name is Miss Miriam, and I'm your host. This is your teacher, Miss Summer. Today we will learn more about how and why Vikings travel to other countries.
I'm Miss Summer, and this lesson is titled Saying Goodbye. Today we will be learning about Bjorn saying goodbye to his family as he and Tully prepare to travel to Iceland. Before we begin, let's look back at our chart from yesterday and quickly review what we learned. Miss Miriam, can you share what you already know about the Vikings?
Yes, we learned that Bjorn received a sword because his father saved the Lord Toki's life. We also learned that Bjorn's father welded different metals together to create the sword.
Thank you, Miss Miriam. I've learned so much about the Vikings already. Are there some new things you want to learn during today's reading?
Yes, there actually are a few things I want to learn. I want to know what the difference is between a longship and a cargo ship. I have also heard of the amazing strength of Viking ships. So you know what? I would like to know what makes Viking ships so strong and powerful.
Oh, those are some great questions, Miss Miriam. I would love to learn the answers to those questions also. But before we get started with our reading, let's begin by first discussing the meaning of some very important vocabulary words that we'll reference during the lesson. Are you ready, Miss Miriam?
Yes, I love learning new words.
Great, let's get started. So our first word is exclaimed. Say exclaimed.
Exclaimed.
Great job. Exclaimed means cried out or yelled. We're going to learn some American Sign Language to help us remember this word. The motion we will use is to take both fists beside our mouth and shove our fingers away from our mouth like we're shouting. In our picture, Kaylee surprised us when she read a letter and exclaimed, "I won the contest." Miss Miriam, can you give us a sentence using the word exclaimed?
Oh, I have one. There's a snake, I exclaimed.
Where?
I was just making up a sentence. There's not really a snake there.
Miss Miriam, let's go to the next word, boys and girls. Our next word is indistinguishable. Say indistinguishable.
Indistinguishable.
Great job. Indistinguishable means impossible to understand, perceive, or tell apart. For this word, we will flick our thumb under our chin to show not. Then we'll flick our pointer finger beside our temple to show understand or know, kind of like the light bulb goes off. So not, understand. Let's try that again, boys and girls. Not, understand. That's the meaning of indistinguishable. Great job. Riding swiftly along in their longship, the Vikings' voices were indistinguishable above the roar of the ocean waves. Or like in the picture on our anchor chart, the twin boys were indistinguishable from each other. Our next word is lap. Say lap.
Lap.
Good job.
Oh, I already know the meaning of the word lap. Lap means the flat area between the waist and the knees of a seated person. Wait, no. It means to take food or drink like a cat or dog. Oh, wait, no. It means running around the track and making a lap. Oh, Miss Summer, I'm so confused.
Oh, well, Miss Miriam, those are all actually right. Lap is a word we call a multiple meaning word. For these kinds of words, we have to read the sentence to know the meaning. Lap in today's story has even a different meaning.
Really?
It means to splash. So the sign language we'll use for that word is to take both hands and pretend to splash water against ourselves, like it was lapping against a ship, like this, lap. In the picture, the water began to lap against the side of the ship. Great job, boys and girls. Our next word is mast. Say mast.
Mast.
Great. A mast is an upright pole in a ship that supports a sail. So to help us remember, let's take our fist high in the air and pound it down to show a long upright pole that's very sturdy. In our picture, we see the ship with the mast. When the storm winds began to blow even harder, the sail was lowered on the wooden mast. Great job. Our next word is sheath. Say sheath.
Sheath.
Great. A sheath is a covering for a sword or dagger. Boys and girls, let me be very careful and show you a real sword and sheath. This leather case, I know I'm trying to be careful, Miss Miriam. This leather case for the sword is the sheath. To help us remember the word sheath, we're going to take our hand and wave like we have a sword. Take our other hand and make a cuff, like we have a pocket for the sword. Pretend to place our sword in the sheath. Let's try that again. We have our sword, place it in the sheath. Great job. There's a picture of a sheath as well. The knight removed his sword from its sheath when he saw that danger was near.
Boys and girls, did you know most sheaths are made from leather?
Wow, some boys and girls did know that. Great job. Great job learning those new vocabulary words, boys and girls. Now we're going to listen carefully to see how Bjorn feels when he finally has to say goodbye to his family. We will also learn about how he prepared for traveling to a faraway land and about life on a cargo ship. Boys and girls, read along with us and look at the pictures as we read. Let's get started. I awoke long before dawn and lay in my bed listening to the sound of breathing. I heard my sister Kidda laughing in her sleep and my grandfather snoring. Occasionally I heard Tolly mutter some indistinguishable words. This was the day I had dreaded. This was the day when I would leave my family forever and begin a journey of many days of sailing that would take Tolly and me across the great ocean of the north. I did not like this day. I wanted to wish it away, but I was powerless to do so. I lay there for the longest time until finally I heard my grandmother begin her morning chores. I dressed myself in the new blue tunic and woolen pants that had been given to me the night before. Tolly had received a woolen tunic and pants too. My tunic was edged in yellow cloth and Tolly's was edged in red cloth. When our family members presented us with our new clothes, Aunt Kristen, Tolly's mother, explained why she had chosen those colors. I chose red for Tolly to match his temper, she said jokingly, and yellow for Bjorn to match the color of his hair. Once dressed, I helped my grandmother rebuild the fire by placing twigs and then fresh logs on the embers. By the time my father, mother, aunt, and uncle arrived at the hearth, the flames were already burning warm and strong. As usual, the porridge was prepared and the bread dough was placed in the embers on an iron rack to bake. Question time. If red is the color that matches Tolly's temper, what may that tell us about him? Oh, I think the boys and girls already know the answer. Miss Miriam, did you hear what they said about the red?
Oh, okay. Yes, I think it's because he may be short-tempered or get mad easily.
Yes, exactly right. That's exactly what the boys and girls said, and we agree with you, boys and girls. Let's keep reading. The children were awakened and sent off to do their daily chores. Before long, it was time to sit at the hearth for our final meal together. No one said very much. It was clear that although the adults believed that it was safer for us in Iceland, they were also sad to see us leave home. We ate in silence until Kidda suddenly exclaimed, "I don't know what to name my chicks. Would it be okay if I named one Bjorn and one Tolly?" she asked with a serious look on her face. "What if they're not roosters?" asked my brother Carl. "I don't think they'll mind what we call them as long as it's not dinner," Arnston replied, and we laughed in agreement. Question time. How does Kidda feel about Tolly and Bjorn leaving? And what makes you think so? Boys and girls, how do you think she's feeling? Miss Miriam, can you tell us what the boys and girls said?
What's that? Oh, yes, they said she is sad. They think Kidda is sad because she is quiet and says she will name her chickens after Bjorn and Tolly.
Yes, I agree with you, boys and girls. Great job if you said that. Let's keep seeing what happens in our story. Eventually, it was time for Tolly and me to collect the few possessions we owned. Now, stored in an animal skin, and make our way to the cargo ship. Together, we all trudged through the narrow streets to the wharf. The other boys were already there and were also saying their final farewells. Then slowly, one by one, they boarded the ship. Tully and I hugged everyone one last time and began to walk toward the waiting sea vessel. "Bjorn, have you forgotten something?" my father said as he came toward me. It was my sword, Foe-biter. I had been carrying it proudly with the rest of my possessions, but as we left the house, Kidda ran into my arms and I'd quickly placed it on a small table. In my sadness, I'd forgotten to pick it up again. I reached out to take it and saw that my father had placed it in a new leather sheath. "Your grandfather made this sheath for you," he said, looking at me intently. "I wish you well, my son. May the gods be ever at your side." Then he turned and walked away. My grandfather's gift was almost the last straw. I wasn't sure I could hold back from crying any longer, let alone board the ship. I wanted to run to him, but Tully, sensing my great sadness, grabbed my arm and pushed me toward the waiting ship. Neither of us said a word as we stood together for a long while, watching the sailors row the cargo ship out to sea and away from our homeland. "Tully, will we ever see them again?" I asked, not really expecting a reply. "If Odin wishes it," Tully replied softly. Question time. Bjorn says that grandfather's gift was almost the last straw. What do you think he means by this? Boys and girls, why don't you whisper so Miss Miriam doesn't hear what you say? I think she heard you. Miss Miriam, what do you think they mean by the last straw?
Well, according to the boys and girls that I overheard, he means that it's the last thing he can handle before he begins to cry.
Yes, I agree with you. Great job for whispering the answer right too, boys and girls. Let's see what else happens in our story today. When I could no longer see the coastline, I began to look around the ship. Our cargo ship was a strong 50-foot vessel, built and designed like all cargo ships to withstand the mightiest waves. Tully, who loved ships, had already explained to me that once our ship reached deeper waters, the sailors would put away the oars and raise the large square sail. He had also explained that cargo ships were rounder, deeper, and shorter than warships, so they were more able to carry cargo to trade. Tully continued with his lesson on ships once we were settled on board. "Bjorn, our ships are unique," he had explained. "They are powered by both the oar and the sail. Our warships or longships are designed to carry many warriors who can row or sail the ship while staying close to the coastline. At sunset, the warriors row their ships inland and camp for the night. Cargo ships sail farther out in the ocean, but spend the night in the deep water harbor. Or, if the waves are calm, they will lower the sail and drop the anchor, waiting until sunrise to continue their journey. They try to avoid coming too close to shore, so the tide, which comes and goes twice a day, won't push them toward coastal rocks." "Do you know why our ships are so strong and powerful?" Tully asked as we stood watching the waves lap against the side of the boat and the seabirds circle overhead. "Not exactly," I replied. "Well, it's because of how they're built," Tully explained eagerly. "You see, shipbuilders use long, thin planks of oak wood to make the hull or body of the ship. These planks are fastened to the keel or backbone of the ship, and then to each other with iron nails. One plank overlaps the other. The floor timbers are also attached to the keel. Then crossbeams are added and the mast is held firmly in place by heavy timber mounting." I didn't mind that Tully suddenly had so much to say about ships. His constant talking helped take my mind off my family. I stood beside him for the longest time, listening to the sound of his voice and wishing that I could fly like Thor's hammer back to my family. All right, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed learning about the powerful Viking ships and about Tully and Bjorn saying goodbye to their families. Now let's see if we can remember some of the details from our story. It's question time.
Oh, I love question time, and I'm sure the boys and girls will know all of the answers too and help me out.
I know they'll be able to help you, Miss Miriam. All right, first question. Why is Bjorn leaving his homeland, even though he would rather stay with his family? Boys and girls, what do you think? I think they know. What about you, Miss Miriam?
Well, according to the boys and girls, they said that they learned that it is safer in Iceland than in Norway.
Yes, great thinking.
Yes.
That's exactly right, boys and girls. Bjorn and Tolly are leaving home for a much safer place. Next question. Why are Bjorn and Tolly traveling on a cargo ship rather than on a warship? Oh, I hear some of you already saying the correct answer. Miss Miriam, do you think you know why they're traveling on a cargo ship rather than on a warship? Can you tell us what the boys and girls said?
Let me listen.
Okay.
Oh, yes, that's right. They said the boys are not going to war. They're just relocating to a new land and bringing cargo with them.
Yes, that's correct. You are also smart. You paid
Yes.
attention. You knew that answer even before Miss Miriam did.
I needed help.
Good listening. Our next question. Bjorn and Tolly watch the waves lap against the ships and talk to one another as the cargo ship leaves their homeland. How do you think Tolly is feeling? Boys and girls, what do you think?
Oh, I know.
Okay, boys and girls, do you mind if Miss Miriam answers? Since you already know the answer. Okay, so since they already know the answer, they said they'll give you a chance to try to answer.
Good, because I know this one.
Okay, we'll see.
All right, Tolly is excited to be on one of the ships that he knows so much about.
She did know. Okay. But that is correct. Tolly was so excited, and he was even sharing everything he knew about the ships with Bjorn. I heard some of them tell us that. Good job. So our next question is when Bjorn's father gives him a sheath, remember this is our sheath, that his grandfather made for his sword, it almost makes Bjorn cry. Why do you think this kind act makes him feel like crying? I don't know why getting a gift would almost make him cry.
Me either.
Boys and girls, what do you think? Can you help us out?
Oh, that does make
It
sense.
does.
They're saying I think he was realizing how much he would miss his family once he left, and that just made him really, really sad.
Yes, that's a good way to say it, boys and girls. That's great thinking. It makes a lot of sense, boys and girls. If you said that, give me a thumbs up. Good job. Great job on all of the questions from the story. You were so smart. Now let's do some word work with our word exclaimed. In the read aloud, you heard, we ate in silence until Kidda suddenly exclaimed, I don't know what to name my chicks. Would it be okay if I name one Bjorn and one Tolly? She asked with a serious look on her face. Say the word exclaimed with me. Exclaimed. Great job. Exclaimed means, remember if we look at our anchor chart, cried out or yelled in an excited manner. Now, when you want to express something loudly or excitedly, we could use an exclamation mark at the end of a sentence instead of a period. Remember, Miss Miriam exclaimed that she saw a snake and scared me. On our anchor chart, we remember the girl exclaimed she won the contest. Have you ever exclaimed something? Why don't you tell me about it? Be sure to use the word exclaimed when you tell us. Oh, those are great. Miss Miriam, can you give us a sentence with our word exclaimed?
Let me think. Look at that huge spider, exclaimed Julie.
Okay, Miss Miriam, that is enough. You can't share any more sentences with the word exclaimed. No more spiders and snakes.
Why not?
Thank you for not sharing sentences about spiders and snakes, boys and girls. But that would make us exclaim, right?
It was
Okay,
good.
it was good. Now we're going to play a game called Making Choices. I'm going to say a word that may be a synonym or a word that has a similar meaning of exclaimed, or an antonym, a word that means the opposite of exclaimed. If the word is a synonym for exclaimed, say synonym or give me a thumbs up. If the word is an antonym of exclaimed, say antonym or give me a thumbs down. Are you ready? Okay. Our words are whispered and exclaimed. Do you think that these words are synonyms or antonyms?
Antonyms is what the boys and girls said.
Great job. That was excellent, boys and girls. So you do know what an antonym is, and you also know what exclaimed means. Let's look at our next word. This word is shouted. So are shouted and exclaimed synonyms or antonyms? We may need to give them a minute to think.
Oh, they're already saying it.
Oh.
Synonyms.
That is synonyms, correct. So shouted and exclaimed have similar meanings, boys and girls. Great job.
They're so smart.
They are. They almost said it before we could get it out.
I know.
Let's try another one. Listened and exclaimed. This one may be a little trickier.
Antonyms. Nothing tricks them.
They already knew that that was antonyms. Good gracious. So those are opposites. We can't listen if we're exclaiming something, right? Right.
That makes sense.
Yes. Okay, let's look at the next one. Well, I think they might know this one fast. Somebody already said it, but I'm going to read it anyway.
Okay. I'm hearing it too.
Cried out and exclaimed. Let's give everybody a minute to think. Oh,
Synonyms.
they knew. They already knew it was synonyms.
They
Those
know
are
all the
similar
answers.
words. Great job. Great job on your word work, boys and girls, learning more about the word exclaimed, and that you knew what synonyms and antonyms were.
Yes.
Miss Miriam, what are some things that we learned today that we can add to our chart?
Let's see. Well, we learned that cargo ships were used for trade and longships were used for raid.
Yes, very good.
There was something else. Oh, we also learned that Viking ships are strong and powerful because of how they are built. Shipbuilders use strong oak wood and iron nails to build them.
Yes, those are great. Thank you for sharing. Boys and girls, do you have one that you want to add? Oh, those are great too.
Yes.
Great job. Well, even though today's story was a sad goodbye, learning more about the Vikings with you has been so much fun. Don't you think so, Miss Miriam?
Definitely.
You've all worked so hard today on our lesson as Tolly taught us all about strong and powerful Viking ships. And as Bjorn and Tolly said goodbye to their families, you did such a great job with the vocabulary words, listening to the story, and answering all of the questions. I am so proud of you, and you should be proud too.
All rights and credits for today's lesson come from Core Knowledge Language Arts. We would like to thank Core Knowledge for publicly sharing these materials. Boys and girls, thank you for joining us today. I cannot wait to keep learning more about the Vikings with you tomorrow. See you then.